Hello, I'm Richard with Janus Motorcycles, and today we're going to go over proper fueling of your Janus. This will be true for all three models, the Halcyon, the Phoenix, or in this case, the Griffin. I'm using a Griffin, but it'll be true in all cases. We've had several questions about people having dripping gasoline or overfilling, and I just want to help answer that with the way that we fill our Janus bikes. First off, you want to pull up a reasonable distance from the fuel pump so that you can reach it. I always fill up from the side stand side of the bike, just like the side you get on the bike. The left-hand side, the tank's already angled toward you a good bit, so it makes it really easy to fill the bike there. It's also important just to take your time with it. Don't rush it, because that's when you're going to make mistakes. I'm going to remove the fuel cap, and we're going to put this in a safe place because we don't want any dirt or anything to get on those threads. So typically I put it on the seat. I mean, you can put it anywhere that's safe, just so it stays clean. The next thing, we use just regular old 87 regular octane fuel. You can put higher octane in there, but it's not really gonna get you a whole bunch more. All right, for the trick with properly fueling your Janus is to keep the nozzle raised unless it's in the tank. So don't come up to the tank like this, because guess what? You see that fuel that just leaked out? That's gonna be on your tank. You wanna come up with the nozzle raised to your fuel tank and then tip it over. And then, because the inside of the tank is aluminum, there's quite a bit of light in there. So you can just watch. I'm putting a little light pressure on the fuel pump handle and watching. If you push too much on it, you can actually get splashback out the filler tube. And I'm just gonna let this thing fill up to the bottom of that filler neck. So there's a 2-inch tube here that extends down into the tank. You want to fill to the bottom of that once. Once it bubbles up to that bottom, you're done. When you do fill the tank, the reason we don't want you to overfill it past the bottom of that filler neck is there is a vent tube in your tank that releases the vacuum pressure as the fuel is used. If you overfill it above that filler tube, it's going to actually go down that vacuum tube and actually end up on the ground or in your evaporative system if you're in California. Neither of those are great, so just let it fill up to the bottom of that filler neck and you're good to go. So then, this is where you always normally leak fuel on the way out. A lot of times people say wait till it stops dripping. Well, in my experience, it never stops dripping. So the trick is to raise the nozzle again. It's also a good idea at this point to have a rag in your left hand, just in case. So I'm going to put that right there in case anything happens. But if you follow this technique, you really shouldn't need one. I'm going to raise the nozzle and pull it away from the bike. There's 0 drips on the tank, on the pinstriping, and you should be good to go. The reason we take extra care with the fueling of these bikes is that this is powder coat. It's an industrial finish. It's extremely durable to chipping, etc. However, it will get marked if you let gas sit on it. So if you do spill fuel on your tank, you'll want to wipe that off as soon as you can, and that can be buffed out with wax or whatever. The pinstripe is hand paint, and that gasoline is going to be like a solvent on that. So again, if possible, just don't spill gas on it, but if you do, wipe it up as soon as you can. Now that the bike is fueled, you'll want to replace the fuel cap. I always try and check it visually just to make sure that there's no dirt on it, etc. Because if that gets caught in those threads, you can have an issue. When you put it back on again, just kind of lightly let it set in place and find the right thread so you don't risk cross-threading it. And then just lightly tighten it down to where that O-ring begins to seal, and you don't need to, really tighten it tight. That O-ring is going to provide the necessary friction and resistance that it'll stay in place. Well, that's it for proper fueling. If you have any other questions, please give us a call or an email. Thank you.